Okay, you guys put your hand down. You're good to go. We're good. Okay. All right. So this is also recording, you guys. So I'll try and post this later. That way, if you missed, for people who missed the meeting, you guys can look back and rewatch it. Okay. I'll post it on my YouTube channel, and I'll put a link to my YouTube channel on your planner, or I'll send it as an announcement. That way you can look at everything, all of the videos that I've done. Okay. That way, if you're missing out on something or want to review, you have that available for you. Okay. So we're going to learn about Cleopatra. This is called Cleopatra Finds Her Voice. Cleopatra was the queen of Egypt, and she's a very smart lady that we are going to learn about today. So I'm going to read it to you. And remember, we are working this week on describing characters. So as we read about Cleopatra, I want you thinking about what kind of a person was she? What are some traits we would describe her with? Okay. It said, yes, ma'am. Okay. We're going to read it first, and then we'll do that. Okay. 11-year-old Princess Cleopatra sailed the Nile River on the barge, or on the royal barge. Her father, the king of Egypt, played his flute. They were sailing from their palace in Alexandria to cities along the Nile. The king would often lead important ceremonies. Cleopatra watched for slithering crocodiles and yawning hippos. Sometimes she would catch a glimpse of a sacred ibis bird tiptoeing along the marshy banks. As the royal barge sailed, people crowded the banks, hoping to see the princess and her father. They sang and chanted and threw flowers. But it bothered Cleopatra that she could not understand what they said. Her father explains that the people of Egypt spoke Egyptian, while Cleopatra's family spoke Greek. So they spoke different languages. So even though she was the princess and later the queen of Egypt, she didn't know how to speak Egyptian. She spoke Greek because that's what her family had spoken. That's what she had learned. It says, but her father was the ruler of Egypt. Why didn't he and his family speak the native language? Native means the language of that land. So I'm going to circle native. And if you are at home and you have some paper, you might want to just write this as a note in your notebook, because I think it's one of your questions. Native means from that land, meaning it first came from that land. It is native to Egypt. It came from Egypt. They could thank their ancestors for that, the king said. The royal family traced its history back 250 years to the time of the Greek conqueror Alexander the Great. Alexander had conquered Egypt, and when he died, his Greek general Ptolemy took over. Ever since, all of the rulers of Egypt had spoken Greek. Once back at home, Cleopatra insisted on learning the Egyptian language. She believed that a ruler should know her people, and that meant knowing their words. Cleopatra studied hard and soon learned to speak Egyptian. But she didn't stop there. She also learned Hebrew, Aramaic, Persian, Latin, and some African dialects. She loved learning and excelled in math and science too. Later, when she ruled as queen, one of her first acts was to visit the city of Memphis for an important religious ceremony. This time, she spoke to the people in Egyptian. The people loved her for learning their language. She showed them respect and honor in many other ways too. Cleopatra is remembered as a brilliant queen. She was the only Egyptian ruler in hundreds of years to learn the language of her people. So now we have some questions we're going to answer about Cleopatra. So if you were on Seesaw, this will be on the second page. And I'm going to read the questions and the answers to you, but you are going to answer them on your own. It's part of your grade, okay? So question 1, part 1. Remember, when it has part A and part B, these two go together. It's really important that this matches your first one. They go together. It's on the very next page, Eden. You got it? Awesome. Oh, yep, that happens. Online kiddos, you guys see this on your page, Alani? We're good to go? All right. I think Miss Alani froze. Either that or she's really good at staying still. But I'm pretty sure she froze. Okay, so part A. What does Cleopatra find out about herself after she learns to speak Egyptian? That speaking Egyptian helps her understand her religion better. She no longer thinks her father is a good king. Her family's old language no longer sounds right. Or she realizes she has a love for learning. Which one did it say in the story? I can look back, and when it says that she learned Greek, or I'm sorry, that she learned Egyptian in paragraph 9. It says Cleopatra studied hard and she soon learned to speak Egyptian. But she didn't stop there. She also learned Hebrew, Persian, Aramaic, Latin, and some African dialects. She loved learning and excelled in math and science too. Excelled means she did really great. Excelled comes from the word excellent. You do excellent in something when you excel at it. So looking at those choices for part A, which one matches for Miss Cleopatra? Go ahead and circle it on your own. I want to see what you guys can do on your own. Go ahead and circle A, B, C, or D. What does she find out about herself? What does she learn about herself? And then part B, it says choose two details. Two of them from the story that support part A. Now you don't need to flip back to the story. They give you them here, and you know they come from the story because they have quotation marks. Is this a question? Okay, we're not answering them. You're answering them on your own because it's your grade, okay? So that way I'm going to check and see how everybody did on their own. Does that make sense, Jose? Awesome. Okay, two details. I need to circle two things. So how do I know that this answer here is correct? That's what it's asking. How do I know this is correct? Jose Luis, you need to follow with me. I am right here. This is where you should be looking. Thank you. She learned Hebrew, Aramaic, Persian, Latin, and some African dialects. They sang and chanted and threw flowers. But it bothered Cleopatra that she could not understand what they said. Ever since, all the rulers of Egypt had spoken Greek. She loved learning and excelled in math and science too. Another clue to help you is whatever answer you chose in part A, which two sentences did you find near that answer? So remember how I just circled paragraph 9? Which two sentences did you also find near your answer in paragraph 9? Go ahead and circle two choices and give me a thumbs up once you have those done. Two choices. I need to get something to hold this down here. I'm just trying to flip up. Two choices. Thumbs up when you're ready. There we go. Oh, that works pretty good. Online people, looks like I'm waiting for Alani, Carlos, Mia Silva, Alejandra. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready to go. This thing's hurting my ears today. Usually it's not so bad. Usually I've gotten pretty used to it, but today I think I just have a headache. It's like right here. Urgh. All right, ready to go, guys? Yes? Awesome. Okay. Number 2, right here at the bottom of the page. Why doesn't Cleopatra's father speak Egyptian? We learned this in paragraph, I think it was paragraph 7. It was right before, or paragraph 6 and 7. Her father was the ruler of Egypt. Why didn't they speak the native language? They could thank their ancestors for that, the king said. So in paragraph 7, it tells us the answer to question 2. It tells us why he doesn't speak Egyptian. So when I go back at my choices, it says rulers of Egypt had spoken Greek for 250 years. Alexander the Great had banned the teaching of Egypt. The king is more interested in playing the flute than learning a new language. Hi, Emma.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, let me try and press this button and see if it works. Sometimes it gets a little unfocused. Haha. Is that better, guys? Awesome. Whew. Okay. The king is more interested in playing the flute than learning a new language. Or Cleopatra's father and the Greek general Ptolemy had agreed not to speak Egyptian. I'm going to go back and read paragraph 7 because I'm not quite sure. Emma, if you're just hopping on with us, we're on the assignment Cleopatra finds her voice. We just read the story together, but all of this is recording. So I'll post it to YouTube after so you can rewatch if you need to, okay? Awesome. So I'm going to reread paragraph 7 to try and find my answer because I want to be sure. They could thank their ancestors for that, the king said. The royal family traced its history back 250 years to the time of the Greek conqueror Alexander the Great. Alexander had conquered Egypt. When he died, his Greek general Ptolemy took over. Ever since, all of the rulers of Egypt had spoken Greek. So when I look at question 2, which one best matches? Go ahead and circle your answer. Remember, this is part of your grade. Is this a question? We're not there yet. We're going through it together. So we're practicing answering, waiting. Waiting is a great skill. It's real hard to do. I'm not a great waiter, but it's okay because you got to practice to get better. When you are done with question 2, please give me a thumbs up. Please give me a thumbs up when you're done with question 2, when you've circled why Cleopatra's father does not speak Egyptian. If you're not quite sure, you can look back to paragraph 7 that I just read and think, which one did I say in paragraph 7? Which one was the same? Thumbs up when you're ready, please. You can just give me a thumbs up on your desk. You don't have to raise it all the way up in the air. Doesn't have to be up in the air like you just don't care. It could just be on your desk. That's cool too. My earrings keep getting caught. There we go. All right. You ready? Give it your best guess. Your gut feeling. Most of the time, that's the correct one. Okay, now we're on question 3. If you are on Seesaw, this is on that next page. So you have to click the next page, I believe. I don't think it's next to it. I think you got to go down to the next page. Right? Yep, awesome. Okay, which sentence best explains why Cleopatra wants to learn to speak Egyptian? She hopes it will help her with her studies of math and science. She sees the love the people show for her father and for her. Her father explains the history of her family's language. Or she believes that as a ruler of Egypt, she should know Egyptian. Why does she want to learn Egyptian? Go ahead and circle your answer. Why does she want to learn Egyptian? If you're not sure, you can always look back through the story. Jose Luis, we're not just staring at the board. You're either writing something or looking back in your story. thumbs up on your desk when you're ready to move on. If you were on Seesaw, I think, or on Seesaw, on Zoom, I think you have a thumbs up reaction button too that you could always press if you'd like. Up to you. Oops. What time are we done? Good question, Alani. We should be done by probably 2:45 at the latest. Shouldn't take us too long. I put 2 to 3 for reading just so we'd have the extra time, but it usually does not take a solid hour. Math usually takes an hour, but reading usually not so much. Question? Good to go? Okay, go and give me a thumbs up on your desk. It's like that. One of those. All right, and then you can move on to question 4. If you're not done with question 3 yet, that's okay. Give it your best guess. Question 4, this is another 2-part. So whatever I answer to part A, it still has to match part B. They have to go together, right? Like peanut butter and jelly. You want to do peanut butter and mustard, right? Gross. It has to be like peanut butter and jelly. It's got to go together. You can't just add oddball stuff. Yep, A and B got to go together like peanut butter and jelly, not peanut butter and mustard. That would be gross. Turkey and mustard, yes, but not peanut butter and mustard. Blech. So part A says, which words best describe Cleopatra? Remember, we're working on describing character. And it gave us, Oscar, some describing words in our story. Is she frightened and weak? Is she spoiled and happy? Is she thoughtful and caring? Or is she silly and careless? How would you describe her? She wants to learn Egyptian to better know her people. And she wants to know about her history. She loves learning. She loved to learn different dialects, and she was loved by her people. How would you describe her? Go ahead and choose the best choice. And then when you get to part B, how do you know that describes her? As the royal barge sailed, people crowded the banks, hoping to see the princess and her father. She believed that a ruler should know her people. She loved learning and excelled in math and science too. Cleopatra is remembered as a brilliant queen. Which one of those matches what trait you gave her? Make sure you circle the trait. Then, how do you know? How do you know she's frightened and weak? Or how do you know she's spoiled and happy? How do you know she's thoughtful and caring? How do you know she's silly and careless? One and one. If it wants you to do more than one, it'll tell you choose 2 or choose 3. Good question. Because sometimes it does have us choose more than one. Yes, they match each other. What was that? Then we wait. Waiting is awesome. So good. You guys hate waiting. You guys always look at me and say, you have to wait. You're like, why? I know, but waiting is a great skill. You'll thank me one day when you're old like me. It is kind of chilly in here, huh? It kind of fluctuates. Like it'll start really warm and then it'll get real cold and then it'll get really warm and it's kind of weird. Yeah, it was the same this morning. It was super hot in here and then it got really cold. And then if I touch the thermostat, it's going to be like melting lava again. Craziness. Crazy. Yeah, if you want to, that's fine. All right. Everybody done with this part? Good to go? All right. Flip the page. I think you have this page online too, right? Do you have this next page online or is that it? You do? Awesome. I don't remember what I put on this assignment. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I did this all this weekend. I spent like 3 hours and gave my kids iPads and said, here's some iPads, go on YouTube. And I created assignments because that's what teachers do on our weekends. Yay. So On this page, we have more questions. What? Yeah. Question number 5. Read the sentences from paragraph 6 of the story. But her father was the ruler of Egypt. Why didn't he and his family speak the native language? Oh, what does native mean in this context? Oh my gosh. It's almost like we talked about this a couple minutes ago, and I said there might be a question. I don't know. What does native mean? Does it mean foreign, meaning from a different country? Difficult? Local, meaning from around that place? Or does it mean ancient, which means really old? What does native mean? We talked about it a little bit. Bless you. You are welcome. Okay. Ready? I gave you guys a big hint for that one. I was like, does it mean this? I'm trying to help you out here. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of that time of year when it gets all dry. Has it been all day today or just now? Okay. We'll just let mom know and keep an eye on it, okay? Okay. He's got it. He's got it. It's okay. The paper's not screaming, so I think we're good. If the paper starts screaming, you guys let me know because that's not good. Then we have a real problem. It's like, what are we doing? And yeah, we don't want to do that. No screaming papers. Okay. So we have a character chart. Remember, we did this at the beginning of the lesson. We talked about Susan B. Anthony and we described her character. This doesn't have all 5 pieces of the character chart. It just has 2, her traits and her actions. So what I want you to do, and if you're on Seesaw, you can use the drawing tool to do this. Draw a line all the way across like this, like so. Here we go. Let me set my tape down there so it'll stay. Okay, now our character is Cleopatra. It did that for us. I hope it's Cleopatra. If it's somebody else, then I don't know why we just read that story, but it's Cleopatra. So we need to figure out 2 traits for her and 2 actions that show that trait. The first one, the first trait is one that the book says. It says she was a brilliant queen. Brilliant means very smart. If you are online on Seesaw, you can either type this on there, use the tool to draw it, the pencil tool or whatever, and then type it, or you can write it on a piece of paper, whichever works best for you. I am okay with either way. As long as if you write it on paper, just take a picture of it later or type it up later, okay? Either way is good for me. The next trait I want to put here is thoughtful. I wonder where I got that trait. Thoughtful. It's almost like it was one of the choices in one of our questions. Maybe that one was the right answer. I don't know. It's a big hint I'm trying to give you. Okay, so she was brilliant, right? I mean, she was very smart. I want you to give me some actions that show she was smart. How do you know she was brilliant? How do you know she was really smart? And then thoughtful. That means she thought of other people. She cared what other people thought and she wanted to make them happy. How do we know that? This is your written response. Now, if you are on Seesaw and it has question 7, and for you in class, the next page it says 105, you do not have to do that one. We're going to stop it right here at question 6. This one's going to be worth 2 points. 1 point here,